What would you do if the poorest man you helped every day turned out to be the millionaire father of the woman you loved, and every kind gesture you made was secretly being judged, measured, and recorded? Daniel had no idea his simple act of kindness would pull him into the greatest test of his life, a test designed by a man who looked like a nobody but owned everything around him. The story began on a cold morning when the city seemed half asleep, wrapped in fog and silence. Daniel tightened the straps of his worn-out backpack and hurried toward the bus stop after finishing his night shift. His feet ached, his hands were numb from the cold, but there was a small, steady flame in his chest that kept him going, his love for Emma. She was the reason he didn't give up on life, even when everything seemed impossible. Emma had a smile that softened storms and a voice that reminded him that kindness still existed in the world. She believed in him even when no one else did. On that morning, Daniel noticed an old man bent over a pile of rusted metal near a small workshop. The man was trying to lift a heavy sack onto a pushcart, but his thin arms trembled like dry branches fighting against the wind. People walked past him without slowing down. Some didn't notice, others pretended not to see. But Daniel couldn't ignore someone who was struggling like that. His mother had taught him that the world already had enough cruelty. Be the part that heals, not hurts. He sprinted toward the man. "Let me help you, sir," he said, gently lifting the sack. It was heavier than he expected, filled with tangled wires, old bolts, and broken metal sheets. The old man wiped sweat from his forehead and gave a weak smile. "Thank you, son. Most people just walk past." Daniel just shrugged and said, "Someone should care." The old man's eyes softened, not with gratitude alone, but with a strange, searching look. He asked Daniel about his job, his family, where he lived. Daniel answered honestly, without complaining about his struggles. The old man listened carefully, almost too carefully, but Daniel didn't think much of it. After repairing the man's broken pushcart using a few loose tools lying around, Daniel waved goodbye and hurried to catch his bus. What Daniel didn't know was that the old man followed him with his eyes until he disappeared behind the tall buildings. And what he didn't know even more was that the old scrap dealer was actually Michael Harrington, owner of Harrington Industries, a millionaire known for building an empire from nothing, a man feared by businessmen and respected by leaders. And most importantly, father of Emma. That first day, the kindness Daniel showed was genuine, small, simple, and sincere. But to Michael, it planted a question. Was Daniel truly this humble? Or was he just pretending because life had cornered him? People sometimes acted kind only until they gained advantage. Michael had seen many men become greedy, arrogant, or cruel the moment money came near them. He wouldn't let his daughter fall into the hands of such a man. So he tested Daniel again. The next day, Daniel returned to the workshop to help fix a loose wheel on the pushcart. He didn't have time for it. He was already late for work, but he still stopped, because the old man looked exhausted and alone. Michael observed every gesture, every expression. Daniel never once acted superior or frustrated. On the third day, Michael pretended to drop a small bag of coins. Daniel found it and ran across the street, calling out, "Sir, you forgot your money." He didn't keep a single coin for himself, even though he desperately needed money to pay rent. Michael narrowed his eyes thoughtfully. But the world doesn't reveal character in calm moments. It reveals it in storms. And the storm came on a rainy afternoon. Daniel was at the workshop fixing a broken metal rod when another worker accused him of stealing a tool that had gone missing. A crowd gathered, fingers pointed, voices grew loud, some faces twisted with suspicion. Daniel stood there surrounded by strangers, rain soaking him to the bone. His cheeks burned with humiliation. He could have shouted. He could have walked away. He could have thrown the toolbox to the ground and sworn never to come back. Instead, he took a deep breath and said calmly, "Search me. I've done nothing wrong." They checked his pockets, his bag, everything. Nothing. The missing tool was eventually found behind a barrel. The crowd apologized awkwardly before dispersing, but the humiliation stayed with Daniel like a bruise on the heart. He walked away silently, dripping water, shivering not from the cold but from the pain of being wrongly blamed. He didn't know Michael had orchestrated the accusation. Daniel could have stayed angry. But the next morning at sunrise, he returned again. Not because of the old man. Not because of any reward. But because kindness wasn't a show for him, it was who he was. And despite the world's cruelty, he refused to let bitterness change him. When Michael saw him walking back into the workshop yard, carrying a warm cup of tea for him, something inside the old man broke. A wall, a fear, an old wound he didn't know he still carried. This was no ordinary young man. As Daniel repaired a broken tool for him that morning, he hummed softly, unaware that his every movement was being watched with a growing sense of awe. Michael whispered to himself, "If this boy truly loves my daughter, then maybe he's the blessing I've been praying for." But the test wasn't over yet. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead and smiled at the old man. "See you tomorrow, sir." He walked away into the golden evening light, still unaware that the man he believed was a poor scrap dealer was actually the father of the woman he loved, and that the truth, when revealed, would shake his world to its core. Every truth carries a weight, but some truths crash down like a storm. And when Daniel walked into the mansion that morning, he didn't know he was stepping into the moment that would shatter his past, challenge his heart, and redefine the meaning of love. The man he thought was a helpless scrap dealer was waiting for him, wearing a suit worth more than Daniel's yearly salary. The morning light was soft when Daniel arrived at Emma's message, his heart pulsing with excitement and fear. She had texted him, "My father wants to meet you today. Please come." Daniel wore his cleanest shirt, still faded, still a little worn out, but the best he had. He walked with trembling hands, hoping to make a good impression. He imagined her father as a quiet, simple man, maybe a factory worker or shopkeeper, someone humble like Emma described. But the moment the gates of the massive Harrington mansion opened, Daniel froze. The driveway seemed endless, lined with trimmed gardens and tall fountains that sparkled under the sun. The mansion itself rose like a palace, grand, elegant, intimidating. His heart stuttered. A swallow got stuck in his throat. This can't be where Emma lives, can it? His feet felt heavy with doubt. Doubt about himself. Doubt about belonging. Doubt about being enough. He stepped inside, and every chandelier, every marble tile, every gold-framed painting made him feel smaller, poorer, and painfully out of place. His palms were sweating when he heard footsteps echo across the hall. And then he saw him. Michael Harrington, in a sleek black suit. Hair neatly combed. No rust, no dust, no scrap metal in sight. The same old man he had helped every day, now standing like a king in his own castle. Daniel's eyes widened. His breath caught. The world stopped. "Sir, what, how?" Daniel whispered, unable to form a full sentence. Michael looked directly into his eyes, calm, unreadable, powerful. "Daniel," he said slowly, "this is the real me." Daniel felt the floor tilt beneath him. Betrayal, shock, confusion, and heartbreak crashed all at once. His chest tightened. His voice shook. "So, you lied to me. Every day. You pretended." Before Michael could answer, Emma rushed in, gripping Daniel's arm. Her eyes were soft but tense, knowing this moment could break him. "Daniel," she said gently, "my father pretended to be someone else because he wanted to see who you truly are." The words hit Daniel harder than the truth itself. A test. He had been tested. Every kindness, every smile, every humiliation, all of it, judged. The rain-soaked insult, the false accusation, the coins he returned, the pushcart he repaired, all of it. His voice cracked. "So I was an experiment. A project." His chest hurt more than he expected. Because to him, the old scrap dealer wasn't just a stranger. He was someone Daniel felt responsible for, someone he cared for without expectations. Michael took a step toward him. "No, son, it wasn't to mock you. It was to protect my daughter. I needed to see your real heart." But Daniel stepped back, tears burning behind his eyes. "And did you enjoy watching me get humiliated? Did you enjoy seeing me think I was helping someone who needed me?" Emma squeezed his arm tighter. "Please don't say that. Dad didn't enjoy it. He just didn't know any other way." Daniel's jaw trembled. He wasn't angry because Michael was rich. He wasn't angry at the test itself. He was hurt because he had opened his heart to the old man, trusted him, and now it felt like all of that was one-sided, artificial. The silence in the mansion was suffocating. Finally, Michael spoke again, quieter this time. "Daniel, the world I live in is filled with masks. People pretend to be good when they want something, They pretend to be humble to get close to my family. They pretend to love for the sake of wealth. I had to know if you loved my daughter for who she is, not for what she has." Daniel looked at Emma, and her eyes were begging him to understand. He took a slow, shaky breath. "Sir, I don't have anything. No money, no house, no status. But I have one truth. I love Emma. If you believe that isn't enough, I don't know what else to say." His voice broke at the end. Emma brought her hand to his face. "Daniel, you're everything I ever prayed for. Please don't walk away." And then something unexpected happened. Michael stepped forward and hugged Daniel. A strong, firm, emotional embrace, not from a billionaire, but from a father who had finally found relief. Daniel stood stiff at first, shocked again, but then slowly let himself breathe. Michael's voice cracked softly. "Son, I tested you because I needed to be sure. And now I am. You've passed every trial. Not by strength, not by wealth, but by heart." Daniel blinked fast as tears finally fell. Emma wiped her cheeks, smiling through her tears. Michael then led Daniel outside, to a small workshop built behind the mansion. It looked simple, handmade, and filled with old tools and metal pieces. It felt familiar, almost like the scrap yard, but cleaner. "This was my first workshop," Michael said quietly. "I was poor once, just like you. When I saw you repairing my broken pushcart with determination in your eyes, I saw a younger version of myself." Daniel touched one of the metal tools, feeling the history hidden in it. Michael turned to him. "I want you in this family. Not because you impressed me, but because you reminded me what true strength looks like." For the first time since entering the mansion, warmth spread through Daniel's chest. The doubt, the fear, the hurt, slowly faded into something else. Belonging. Emma wrapped her arms around him, whispering, "I told you, my father sees more than he shows." The sun began to set, casting golden rays across the garden. Michael placed a gentle hand on Daniel's shoulder. "A man's worth," he said, "is not measured by what he owns, but by what he gives without expecting anything in return. And you gave your heart even when you thought I had nothing." Years later, people would still talk about the day the millionaire father-in-law tested his future son-in-law by pretending to be a scrap dealer. But only the three of them knew the truth of what happened in that mansion: the hurt, the healing, the confrontation, the forgiveness. And as Daniel stood in the workshop doorway, Emma beside him, and Michael smiling proudly, one truth echoed louder than all the rest. Sometimes the poorest-looking man carries the richest heart. And sometimes life tests you in disguise, only to bless you afterward.